GreenKeeper pre-beta checks hazards.
Next phase of the pre-beta check would be our hazards. So we're just working our way down through the list. So for hazards, it's basically just a matter of going to each of them, making sure we're not getting any overlapping ones, making sure they're the right type for what we want them to be, make sure the shapes are good, things like that. So obviously if you've got a course with a lot of hazards, this one's got 16, so it'll take a little while, but not that long. So I just select each one in turn. We'll give you a nice overhead view and just make sure that we haven't got any areas where, if it's like water in the hazard, that the fence is definitely encapsulating all the water. So there's no chance of getting in the water but outside of the hazard, because that will cause problems. Yeah, and just generally make sure they're all okay. Again, if you've got stakes, try and line them up with the stakes if you've done those manually. Things like that. So that's hazard 1 is fine. Hazard 2. You can check the hazard types. These are all currently like standard hazards, so that will give an as it lies, which is no bad thing. If you ball landed there, whilst you're in the hazard, you will have an as it lies option, which is pretty typical for a hazard. Obviously, there's areas of a course where you might not want that. So like this area here, for instance, if you didn't want people to be able to play out of this area, you would have to set that as a no as it lies. Like for instance, here, this hazard actually isn't providing much of a hazard, because it will just give an as it lies drop and you'll be able to hit. If you wanted it to not be like that, you would have to set it as no as it lies, but then I'd say you'd probably be wanting to plant up these inner edges. You'll know that course. Are these heavily planted? They're not. Well, they are. So there's an argument that if the ball was to land here, I would say that's unplayable. You'd never find it. So in that regard, you could say this hazard here, I would argue, should be a no as it lies hazard. Like, you shouldn't be able to hit out of there. So in that case, we'll go back into our hazard. Go to hazard 2. If we can't remember which hazard it is, remember you've got the show hazard IDs button. So you can pull it up and we know it's hazard 2. And I'm going to change this to become a no as it lies hazard. And I'm updating that hazard type. So we'll just work our way through them all now. So 3, again, with VS Pro on this possibly would be a no as it lies hazard again, but I'm not going to change it. It's a designer's choice. No, see this one isn't. Oh, it is planted. I would argue again, possibly it should be no as it lies. That's a designer's call. You as a designer would have to decide that. I'm not going to fix it with regards to this one, because I'm using Brian's kindly let me using this course as a video. But yeah, that's a decision you'd have to make. In terms, I'm just checking in terms of shape and information. I would say that hazard is fine. 4. Again, we're just making sure it's when you get points separated like this, that's when you can have the water extending outside of the fence, for argument's sake. I'd say it's all pretty good here. And again, you can reduce your marker size down a bit and see. The line will sometimes separate from it when you're doing that, but you can see roughly that's all okay. So we'll quickly whiz through the rest of these. That one's fine. Again, keep an eye on the hazard type when you're going it. Like I can see here, we're going to have these hazards here. I'll select the correct type. So 6 I'm happy with. 7 looks fine. Yeah. 8 looks fine. 9 looks fine. And this one, as you can see, probably the length of the video, just takes a little bit more time just to double check. But if you're not having to make design decisions. But this one is an interesting one. Now, this area of a course here, I'm going to quickly flick VS Pro back on. It's not overly heavily, oh, it's planted up. I would guess this probably should be an inner OB. With these houses here and things like that, I would guess this should be an OB. So we'll go back to hazard and we'll go to number 12, I believe it was. Yep. And I'm going to set this to inner OB. So I believe that's a definite change that should be made. And these are just they're not even, they are mistakes, but they're easy mistakes to make as we're doing a course as designers. This one here is, again, we've got houses and stuff there. I would argue that probably would also be inner OB. Could be a no as it lies hazard, but if there's houses there, I can't think they want you going there. Again, I would go inner OB on that one. 15 seems to be. So this one is harder. It's more of a design choice again. I'm guessing this is just full of trees. I'm mindful of the length of the video, but if we turn this on again, oops, yeah, I mean it's just plogged full of trees. It depends what you want to do with people and what you want the hazard to represent. As it stands, it's giving you the option. You could say, well, I want it so people can take a drop out of there if they want, or they can have a go at getting out. But I would say it depends why you've put that hazard in. As it stands, the hazard is giving an option of a drop, I suppose, where if you didn't set a hazard, there wouldn't be one. You could set it to no as it lies, and then it'll just always make you drop. So it'd be effectively simulating like that lost ball kind of scenario. Yeah, it all depends. I'm going to set it to a no as it lies. In my personal opinion, I think that's a dead ball in there, but not an out of bounds dead ball. We'll make it a bit kinder. So if you bang it in there, you just have to take a drop. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to leave it as is. That's a designer's choice. I'm not here to make those. And this last one, again, is a similar sort of thing, but because it's got this ditch type area again, this one, I would say you would be making no as it lies. So I'm going to set that one as that. So yeah, so that's how you check your hazards. The important thing, which I don't know if I even mentioned as part of when we're going through these, is making sure hazards do not overlap. So as we're going through, obviously we didn't have it here, but we want to make sure our hazards aren't overlapping. I don't know if I mentioned that at the start, which could be an oversight. It's very important hazards do not overlap in any way. Apart from when you use an island green, well obviously they'll overlap then. But yeah. So that's checking hazards as part of the beta check, and we'll move on to the next one.